Joining us now, we have Public Service Commissioner Brandon Presley with an event coming up today and something that we were talking about with Representative Miles just a moment ago, which is the expansion of Broadband. Commissioner, how you doing today? Good to talk to you again.
I'm good, Dave. Good to be with you, man. Big, exciting day.
Most definitely. Now, let's go ahead and tell them what the ceremony is. It's coming up this morning in Tupelo, right?
Yeah, so we're actually going back to the spot in Tupelo where President Roosevelt, Franklin Roosevelt, came in 1934 to announce Tupelo as the first TVA city, which really cemented North Mississippi as a region in the country that was a leader in public power back in the 1930s. Fast forward to today, and broadband service is as important as electricity was when President Roosevelt came in 1934. So we're going back to that same spot at Robbins Field today in Tupelo to sign the actual final approvals, the last step, if you will, that has to be done for 9 of our local rural electric cooperatives to receive $91.3 million from the Rural Digital Opportunity Fund. By law, the commission has to sign off on that, and so I'll be signing those papers today at 10:30. This is going to help bring access to over 40,000 homes and businesses, actually over 42,000 homes and businesses here in North Mississippi. And we're going to be doing events like this in Greenwood on Wednesday, Columbus also on Wednesday at 4 County Electric and Delta Electric, and then down at East Mississippi Electric on Friday. This is a major day, and these funds are going to help propel us or keep us on the track of bringing world-class broadband to every house in the state, which, as you know, has been a goal of ours for a long time.
Well, you and I have talked about this, and I think we're of the same mind here. And it's great that you draw the comparison with FDR coming to Tupelo to announce them being a part of the TVA with electricity. Internet, it's the same situation that we had with electricity back in the 30s, getting it to all the homes and making sure everybody had the option to get electricity to their homes. Internet is in that same category now to me, and you and I have talked before. Just curious if you've got any updates. Do you think there's a chance at some point down the road this will be considered a utility just like gas or electricity or water?
I think if you talk to the average person at the Piggly Wiggly or the service station in Mississippi this morning, and you said, is broadband service, internet service, a necessity or a luxury, they're going to say it's a necessity. If they didn't believe that before this pandemic, they darn sure believe it now. It is only in government would you find these silly nuances that broadband is somehow a luxury and therefore we shouldn't be trying to get access to everyone. Average Mississippian believes they know that their kids have to do their homework online. They know what they've gone through in this pandemic, but this was an issue even before the pandemic. So, I think that it's in the average citizen's mind, it's definitely a necessity. And here's the thing, Dave. There is never going to come a time in which Mississippians have less of a need for connectivity. We know that's only going to increase as the economy evolves, and we've got to get our state prepared for the future. We've got to get our workers prepared for the future, our children prepared for the future. Our telehealth network in the state, is a way in which for the state of Mississippi to save a lot of money and taxpayer dollars, but also to make sure rural citizens who maybe have to travel further than others to go to a doctor's visit are able to get world-class health care. To say in the year 2021 that people don't need internet access would be like in 1934 saying you don't need electricity, you got candles. Why do you need electricity? It doesn't make any sense. And so, we're going to keep fighting both on the state level and the national level to get every single penny we can of infrastructure dollars to help build out not just some temporary internet fix, but a world-class broadband system. And I think that with the work that we've been able to put in, working with Commissioner Bailey and Commissioner Maxwell, and the leadership in the legislature, Lieutenant Governor Hoseman, Speaker Gunn, Chairman Scott Bounds, Chairman Joel Carter, have done some very forward-looking legislation, not only this past session, but the sessions before. And I think you're going to look back at a time in which look back in the future and say, man, where we came from to where we are, Mississippi can be one of the most connected states in the United States of America, and that needs to be our goal.
Well, and one thing that I think people get a little confused about when they hear these kind of things, you're talking about $91 million at the ceremony today that you're signing the paperwork for. They seem to think that it's turning internet and broadband connectivity into an entitlement because, well, they're just going to have it now. No, this is giving them the option to pay for the service. This is not providing the service free of charge, and I think some people get that confused.
That's exactly right. I mean, I think there's obviously some folks that want to spin it that way for political purposes. Well, what we're faced here with is, number one, to get internet service to rural communities that lack it, it takes a lot of money. And companies are not going to go out to those areas and serve those citizens with world-class internet service. We've seen it right here in our state because it's technically and in fact, it's not profitable when you look at it just from a dollars and cents sign. So there's been a policy to say, number one, people in Mississippi, no matter where you live, deserve access to high-speed internet service. Number two, this is the same system of building roads, putting out electric lines in the 30s. We've got to get our people connected. And so these dollars and other dollars that have been on the state level have been targeted to carriers, and it has been a commitment by the carrier to, number one, or the internet provider, that they would get service out at certain speeds and within a certain schedule. Secondly is to do that, we've recognized in public policy that it is in the public interest to get those dollars in place and to get those dollars flowing, because the truth is the market has failed rural Mississippi. It's failed rural America. And just like it did in the 1930s in electricity, as I said, we're going to where President Roosevelt came to announce Tupelo as the first TVA city. In the 1930s, the incumbent power company at that time was Mississippi Power up in Corinth. And Tupelo also, everyone living in the city of Corinth or Tupelo had electricity. But if you lived at Morville, or you lived at Rienzi, or you lived in a rural community, you were up the creek without a paddle. Well, the issue at that time, from public policy, elected leaders said, we've got to get electricity to every home and every farm and every business in rural America. And they went about doing that. And that's what President Roosevelt came down to talk about in 1934. The same set of facts are there today when it comes to internet service. And where in the world would we be if we had stuck our head in the sand in the 1930s and did not look at public power, electricity as something we needed to have as a public goal? We've got two things in the state, Dave, that are most precious to us. First is our people. Secondly is our infrastructure. Those are the two building blocks that we've got to have to pull Mississippi off the bottom. You can't enrich the lives of children with education or the modern world without internet service. You cannot do it. It is an infrastructure issue. And if I have looked in the eyes of the rural citizens, I've been to town halls and fire departments in rural communities, and these working families and small businesses in rural America need the chance to compete. We've got to get our people prepared, and we've got to win the future. And you do that through bringing high-speed internet service to every single home.
Well, and I would add one more thing to the very important things that build, the state, and that's air conditioning, which you wouldn't have without electricity to all the homes, which goes back to the point that you're making.
We'd be mighty miserable, wouldn't we?
Oh, that's an understatement. But the same thing applies with internet and the possibility of taking that service and having it at your home, because like you said, when they started with the electricity and running it everywhere, well, they weren't going to spend $1 million to run lines down a road that was going to serve 3 customers. It would never pay for itself. So you have to kind of give it a push start, if you will, to get it going. And that's what this is today.
Well, I view it as an investment. We've got to invest in our people and in our rural community. It's an investment. It's going to pay dividends. It is going to pay massive dividends, and it's going to help us also leapfrog our competition in the other 49 states when you can live in Mississippi and have the same internet access. Today, when we approve these monies, you're going to be able to have the same internet access in rural Tishomingo County as you can get in downtown Brooklyn.
Yeah, except you won't have to be dealing with Brooklyn.
That's out of the traffic, right?
Yeah, so that's a win-win all the way around. It's 10:30 today in Tupelo at Robbins Field, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We've got 9 co-ops, and then on Wednesday we're going down to Greenwood for Delta, Electric, and to also over to Columbus for 4 County, and it's going to be and then Friday down to Meridian for East Mississippi. They're getting $38 million. East Mississippi is, and so it's going to be a big day. Actually, Delta Electric's getting $46 million, and 4 County Electric Power Association, which is there, and in Columbus serves Knoxville County, but I've got 3 of those counties just getting $35 million. Let me say this one point. I'll shut up. We knocked the ball out of the park on these funds. We came in second in the United States of America in terms of dollars coming to our state to fund rural broadband. We were only beat out by California. Mississippi was number 2 in that fund. And so we're proud of the work that went on, working with the legislature in a bipartisan, across the aisle way.